you to listen and grow to this Power Business and Lifestyle magazine show. With hosts Paul and Deb Rees, experts in business, leadership and lifestyle. Skilling yourself to a successful you.
Yes, we're in and we're up and running, and more do I have a show for you today. Come on, another come on. Do you know, every week, listeners, I do try to come in slowly and gently, but you know what? I just cannot. And it's a nightmare trying to edit out that red on the mic every single week, and I apologize for that dodgy first couple of seconds that happens every single week on the show. When I get overly excited, I wee my pants, in I come, I'm up and running, all the excitement is going, almost, it's fantastic. Listen, if you could see it, you would see every week I'm almost clapping my butt cheeks. I mean, come on, it's just boot. I love being on ya. And this week, have I got a rebel in for you? She's an amazing, amazing lass. We've had some time together already, and I'm really excited to be sharing the opportunity to be bringing her on the show, warts and all, and everything goes with it. Although we have had an agreement before the show, no potty mouths today. No potty mouths today. But, you know, listeners, welcome, of course, to UK Health Radio. It's fantastic to be here again this week. I've had a pretty uplifting week because you all know my Deb, my wife, went on one of those week meditating weeks last week. I mean, it was 11 or 12 days of silence. She said 200 people, and nobody could talk to everybody. And she was meditating 8 hours a day, man. And now she's gone and booked me on it. She said, Paul, I think you need to go. Do I, Deb? Yes, I think you need to go. So she's booked me on back. That aside, I'm going to say that it was the loneliest week I've ever had. 19 years with my wife. You know she's my center. No phones, no communicating. All that got taken away. It was really odd being here in this home all week without Deb. I mean, she phoned me. Here's the thing. She phoned me on the way home. So she's coming home on the 13th day. She phoned me. No, she stopped the car and she WhatsApp videoed me, and I burst into tears. I mean, come on. I burst into tears like some whimpering puppy. I mean, once I put the phone down, I kind of looked around because I was walking the dogs. I'm like, did anybody see that? I was like, come on, Paul, put your big man pants on. It's like it's full on. But you know what? It just goes to show that it's okay to miss someone. It's okay to miss someone to that point where you get that emotional feel running through you, where it's like you just cry because you care about that person, you care about what you have together. And that's okay. It's okay to be a man and show those emotions. It's okay to be a man and just blabber down the phone to your wife because you've missed her for 10 days. That's okay. Do you know what I mean? I still felt the full man. I really did. I mean, I did flex my chest a little once I put the phone down, you know, and packet myself up a bit. But here's the thing. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you can't openly miss someone to the point where you share happy tears from hearing from that person. Just give that some thought, you know. You know, us men, it's about time. It's about time we become more almost feminine but masculine with it at the same time. Do you know what I mean? I mean, lads, I cream up every day. You know, I put on my eye cream, I put on my face cream. Nothing wrong with that, man. When I shave, on it goes. I got all my special bits of this and bits of that that make me feel all crammed up. And I love it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, Deb was coming on today, but here's the thing. She swapped the show out to go and get her nails done. I mean, really, Deb? Yeah, Paul, I got my nails booked in. It's like, man, you got a show today. Okay, I got you back. And that's where we are, listeners. But here's the thing. There's no gap left here because our guest today is full enough for 3 people. Absolutely, she really is. And without further ado, what I'm going to do, listeners, I'm going to bring her straight in here. So here we are. Let's welcome the show, the wonderful, the amazing, no potty mouth today, the Mary Claire Ashcroft. Let me bring her in. Mary Claire!
Hi!
Girl, thank you for coming on the show, eh?
Thank you.
I know, it is. I'm really stoked because here's the thing. When you sent me your information, because the listeners, you know, I send little questionnaires out just so I get a flow with the show and thing. And it says, okay, business name, here we are, the professional rebel. I mean, I already know we are in for something special here. I really, anybody that calls himself the professional rebel, well, I mean, why? Why? Tell, because, you know, I want to know a little bit about you, girl.
So why am I the professional rebel? Well, I've just never liked to fit myself inside of a box. And when I first went into business, I started as a photographer.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, you've got a niche, you've got a niche, you've got to only serve one person. And going through those activities where suddenly your life is constricted to only serving Tracy, who works at Tesco and drinks rosé at the weekends with girls, I was like, I don't want to do that. So I thought, after a few years in business, I thought, well, how about I make the rules and see what happens? And I've been having an awful lot of fun doing my own thing. And I always say, as long as you show up for the people that have paid you, send in your taxes, be insured, then the rest of it's up to you.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And, you know, listen, there's a lot that you've been through. I've got a lot here that I want to talk about, you know, because you are someone that carries your heart on your sleeve. And I noted that really from our first conversation we ever had. You know, you do that. You know, you are, I love this, a self-expression specialist. I mean, I've not heard that before. So let me put this together. So first of all, the business name is a professional rebel. And, you know, your expertise, you're a self-expression specialist.
Yes.
Now, wow. If we think about that on an emotional level, probably 99% of the population need you to work with them.
Exactly. So it helps not having a niche.
I mean, that is a niche in itself. It really is, because what you're offering is the opportunity for every individual to carry and enjoy their own emotional fingerprint.
Exactly. And just love expressing who they are, like visually, in life, in business, emotionally, everything really. Just be who you are.
Yeah, but here's the thing is that most people don't know who they are. Most people have no idea who they are, or, you know, and we could really dive into the can of worms of pronouns and things, you know, and where that's going, and, you know, is that really who I am? You know, I've changed, you know, my identity. You know, we are going through a crisis of who are we? What am I? We're going through that crisis now. And what you feel has really brought that into light, that kind of freedom of, you know, pronouns being something different. Do you think we're going through a positive change or a negative change in self-expression?
I think it's positive. I mean, I am no expert on sort of pronouns and the trans community, so I speak very loosely and I really try not to offend anybody. What I understand is, I think it's come about from the internet. You know, I know that when I was at school, the only role models I had were my parents, my teachers, my extended family, and if you were very limited, you know, say, for example, you grew up with people with small minds or very set in their ways or very traditional, then that is all that you saw around you. And that is all that you felt like is who you could aspire to be. Yeah. And if you felt like I did, like a black sheep, I didn't feel like my family. I've got family in Poland. I've got family in the UK. And I always thought that I didn't feel like I belonged because I didn't feel like my Polish relatives. I didn't feel like my my UK relatives. Yeah. And so for me, I always I used a lot of shame. I used to hide parts of myself because I didn't think, you know, we're all craving acceptance from the people around us to survive. It's it's an ancient survival tactic. And I feel that the bigger your circle of influence becomes from the internet, from the people you spend time with, you know, this is why teenagers rebel. Suddenly they're open to like bands and things like that. You know, they start getting magazines, you know, well, obviously when I was a teenager, obviously there's loads more on Instagram now. But I remember finding magazines and listening to late night radio shows. And suddenly it was like, wow, I resonate with what these people are singing about, what they're talking about. And, you know, for me, that is how I started experimenting with identity and clothes, things like that. And I think it's gone a lot bigger now that you have access to so much more. So yes, you haven't, you know, if you don't feel like you fit and suddenly you see, you know, somebody expressing a different gender and you feel like, oh, well, maybe that's me. So I will try that. So I don't think it's bad. I think, you know, we are a lot more influenced than we like to think, you know, like obviously the targeted ads and pushing us into various funnels. So we do have to be careful and make sure that our self-knowledge about ourselves is really grounded in a foundation where we're really sure, and we're not, because, you know, it's a big change. You know, for example, say you were to decide you were a different gender, sorry if I'm getting the words wrong, but if you were deciding to express yourself as a different gender, you know, it's a lot of pain and a lot of things to go through to change your physicality. So be really sure. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Well, Mary Claire, I mean, that is such an intelligent way of answering that technical question, because you're right, it's a very delicate subject, but yet it's front row right now and front line, I'd like to say now. It is the both. And when we think about self-expression, you know, I'm 54. For me, self-expression was either being a punk rocker, a mod, a skinhead, you know, or whatever other various mixes you could put into how you chose to dress. But, you know, and I think there was hippie in the very early days. But, you know, we still, even though we were expressing ourselves as children in a particular gender of punk, rock, skinhead, whatever it may be, it was still very restricted. You had to be a punk if you was a punk. You couldn't be a punk and a mod together. It just didn't work out, you see. So now, you know, self-expression is far more open in its almost like broadband opportunity, because you know, there is no limits to what self-expression is now. You know, I have a 21 and a 23-year-old daughter, and I found their approach, like my eldest daughter, you know, she chose to experience relationships with girls and boys, and to see which one resonated with her the best, which one made her feel the fullest. And I was like, wow. It's like, wow. You know, Danielle, my daughter, at 23, I'm now 23, but she took about 10 years to decide what was right for her. I didn't get that choice. No. I didn't get that choice. It was just, this is who you are, and too bad. Yeah. So, you know, in that way, I do admire the courage of where self-expression is now taking an allowance to create an experiment and be the fullest version you feel.
Yeah, totally. It's like a pick and mix. You can take a bit from everything. It's like a big buffet of who you could be out there in the world. It's like one of those, you know, where you've got like Chinese food, Indian food, pasta, everything. And you're like, here's my plate. I'm just going to put a bit of, you know, whatever I want on it.
Yeah. It is. It's fantastic. And of course, you have the whole photography that comes with this. That's, you know, so I'm going to just go. So we have your Fluke Photography.
Yeah, that was my first business.
I just had to bring it out there because, you know what? It's like such a great name.
Thank you.
And listen, I'm going to throw out just little spurts of some of the information here because they are real highlighters. Short stint as the happiness ninja. I mean, this is just brilliant. I mean, the happiness ninja. I mean, girl, you are out there and you are courageous with how you would put the words together to create a professional industry, business, you know, service, whatever it may be. It's just fair play. It is. But now, so tell me about the Professional Rebel. So what is this about? So this now is, I have this as your business name. So you are a Professional Rebel.
I am. So it's a combination of personal brand photography and rebel confidence coaching, because as business owners, you know, you've got to put yourself out there. You know, you've got to differentiate. You know, you've got to be everywhere, you know, social media, marketing, emails, radio shows, everything. You've got to be putting yourself out there. And the way to stand out is to show who you really are, because if you are pretending to be someone you are not, people will feel it, or the success will be very, very sort of limited. Or even if you do make a big success out of it, you'll feel unfulfilled. And what comes with sort of putting yourself out there into the big wide world, to take example that we spoke about earlier, to break free from those those imposed identities of who you're supposed to be, your parents expected you to be, who you thought you had, who you thought was allowed in business. All of this is about pushing boundaries, and getting to the edges of your comfort zone. And with that comes a lot of self-doubt. Yeah. We think about who we're allowed to be, who we're allowed to express as, and that causes a lot of self-doubt and imposter syndrome. So it's all about expressing yourself safely, and rather than sort of throwing yourself head first into your goals, it's allowing yourself to express that within your capacity, doing it safely and responsibly, rather than causing these self-sabotage crashes. And so that's why I talk so much about emotions and confidence, and even self-expression. It is about stepping into that arena in a way that's not going to harm you. So I provide the support of putting yourself out there, learning who you are, learning to put that out there into the world, so you don't go into hiding when, say, somebody like a troll or something says, you can't say that, or what do you think, all those voices in your head like, oh, I can't wear that on a photo shoot, or I can't say that. And so, I'm here to sort of hold your hand as you go through it, because I know it's really, really scary, especially when you've grown up feeling, I don't belong, I don't fit in, people think I'm strange. But I know I will be doing myself a disservice if I don't show up and express who I am on the inside.
Well, I mean, that is a very delicate process also, because, generally when we are struggling to self-express in any way, we are loyal to the restrictions that were put on us. And, with all due respect, it's generally our parents that do that. And they are just following a journey that was put to themselves, and just fail to break that. Or disconnect from what we could say those habits that they had to adopt in. And I can imagine there, when you're working with those people, then it's a layering process where you're having to really look at the what's created the now from the past, and then how you be proud of your past, but also appreciate the reshape of what you can be from the past, instead, and not keep the shape that was the past, if that makes sense.
Totally. Well, I like to talk, so I love using puns, and because I'm a photographer, I always use the sort of like the puns of like using lenses. We see ourselves through specific lenses with specific filters on them. And a lot of people, because, they are told by school, by parents, by extended family, this is who you're allowed to be, and these are the experiences that you've had. And usually we cling on to like a couple of negative, air quotes, I know you can't see them, negative experiences that make us believe what we are, who we're allowed to be, what we're capable of. And even though there's only a handful of these experiences, they sort of colour our view of ourselves going forwards, and that restricts our self-expression. So it's about going back, really having a look at everything and putting everything into perspective. So I always say to tell people to zoom out and look over your whole life, because these experiences that you've had that's made you think, for example, I'm going to use my story of not being very good at maths. I got put down a set in maths because I didn't realise I was neurodiverse at the time. So I was really clever, but I just wasn't learning in the same way as other people, and I needed a different approach. But that was not common knowledge at the time. So for me, I had this story that I'm terrible at maths, and I believed that for up until very recently, and I even have to catch that story. And so it's those sorts of things. You have those tiny little experiences that then going forwards cloud your, they put on like this Instagram filter of who you are, and it's false. And so it's about going back and then really like cementing and putting foundations of who you actually are, and making peace with the parts of you that maybe are, again, air quotes, flaws, but we're not all meant to be good at everything. So that's why you work with other people to collaborate and stuff.
Well, it's fantastic. And I'm really excited to sort of see how this pieces together in the sense of, I'm coming to you and I'm having my photo shoot and I'm wanting to really kind of express what is the true core value of who I am. This is a little bit shady because, my past and maybe the industry I'm in and then, so is it that you focus on getting the right kind of images, photography from that person, and then also how then they can deliver themselves from that photo shoot out into the world as a professional business owner, I don't know, career person, whatever it may be. Is that how it works with yourself there?
So I tend to meet people wherever they're at. So if they're a bag of nerves and they're really like, I know I want to say something, but I'm not feeling confident enough, I'd start with them, like say in my membership community or in, as a one-to-one to sort of help them build up that confidence and put that sort of foundation in there. I have also people who come straight to me for photo shoots, and some people are ready to take over the world. And some people do need that sort of hand-holding throughout. And what has been really helpful for me, again, it's probably the neurodiversity, or it might be my trauma response, but I'm very, very, very good at reading people. It might come from growing up in a house where I had to walk on eggshells and predict how people were going to react. But I am able to see even the most confident person something will change about their energy, and they will, be a micro expression in their face or a change in their posture. I will see that the mind gremlins have taken over, and they are then suddenly sort of, their energy shrinks, and they'll think, I can't, I'm getting a bit too big for my boots, or I'm enjoying this too much. This isn't about supposed to be as much fun. And you literally see them shrink.
Wow.
And that to me is that, because I'm very good with people, I can then suggest, this person will need to do this thing. For example, maybe they need to do something a bit silly and naughty to get them out of it. Somebody else, I'll say, go and have a cigarette and a meditate or something. It's just about being able to read that person and knowing exactly what will snap them back into it. Now, sometimes they can have the best photo shoot afterwards and they'll love it. And that's when the head gremlins kick in, because they'll think, who am I to post this? So, I'm always available to say, let's coach you through that, because it can happen. You can have the best photo shoot, love the photos, and then, something in your head will say, I can't post these, or you'll literally look for all your flaws.
I do admire that combination of service where it's not just about the picture, it's about how it is, your self-worth and enjoying the pictures and using that after. And what we're going to do here, Mary Claire, is we're going to just jump into a quick commercial. And what I'm going to do that, listeners, when we jump back on after commercial, have your pens and paper ready, because we're going to be calling out all Mary Claire's contact details, how you get hold of her, where you can find her, and all these beautiful things. So what we can do, listeners, I'm going to catch you in about 90 seconds.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Oh, welcome back, ladies, gents, and all your listeners. Yes, of course, you are your UK Health Radio, and you're listening to Paul on his Lifestyle Business Magazine. We do it all kind of show, what's and all. Yes, and of course, we have the wonderful, amazing Mary Claire Ashcroft, your professional rebel and self-expression specialist, who, by the way, can take a picture that you can die for. It's absolutely amazing. I'm really stoked to have it on. And what we're going to do there, listeners, as promised before the commercial break, you are Mary Claire's contact details. Let's have them, girl. Shout them out there.
Yeah, sure. So best place to start would be my website, so you can find out about everything that I do. And that is www.professionalrebel.co.uk. So that's one F, two S's, because I used to struggle to even spell professional myself.
I hear you, girl.
And I spend far too much time on social media like everyone else. So on Instagram, I am The Professional Rebel. And I'm also on Facebook. I tend to use my personal profile more than my business one. So Mary Claire Ashcroft, or also the Professional Rebel on there as well. So
thank you, girl. It's always easy. And of course, we do have an email, which is hello@professionalrebel.co.uk. Yeah. And we'll be calling those out, listeners, after the second commercial. So be ready there in case you miss it. But when the show goes out also, all those details will be with the show, directly underneath the audio. Happy days. Now, here we go. Before we went into commercial, we were kind of really touching into, how we become hypervigilant in life. Because here's the thing, you have it at a very high level. Having been brought up, as you said, in an environment where, there was a lot of, we could say, disruption, arguments, negativity, these kinds of things, and somewhat, violence perhaps. You do have to become an ecosystem reader, which makes you very hypervigilant as a person. And then, that sensitivity, whilst it's brought in due to negativity, it also becomes a very positive. I'm a bigger believer that, if you understand you are hypervigilant and you appreciate the value of what that is, it becomes something that helps other people, which is effectively something you are using that emotion in right now in your business.
I am.
And, in many ways, we have to thank our past for being who we are, whilst at the same time going through it, we are still working through it almost on a day-to-day basis. Do you know what I mean? Do you have a studded necklace, or you have, look at that, listeners. I just want to give you this visual here, okay? So Mary Claire is you. I mean, when you've got long flowing hair and a nose piercing and the regular kind of ear piercing is what I see, but I see this kind of studded neck leather with a big loop coming out of it and everything, man. It's like a dog collar. It's fantastic. It is. It's like something I'd have on my French bulldog.
Like I said, it's all about a buffet. Take what you want. So I've got very whimsical, starry earrings on. I've got a pink top that's very much in line with my brand colours, girly hair, and then, big punky S&M dog collar.
It's a punky dog collar. It's fantastic. And, well done to you. Well done to you. Because here's the thing is that, let's come back to, the self-expression specialist, because I think it's important. We have the beautiful photography work that complements, they both complement each other. But I just want to say there is not enough self-expression specialists out there. We are struggling to find our own self-expression, and then generally we get it wrong. Or actually, we live our life without ever doing that. And if anything, listeners, please reach out to Mary Claire here, because when you're in a safe environment, you can reach out to someone where you really want to deep dive into finding that perfection of your self-expression, or enjoying the journey of your self-expression. It's always good to have that connection and that support system, as is with Mary Claire here today, in having that person you go to on a frequent basis to build that self-expression journey.
Yeah, well, it's all about creating safety. You cannot create change, and you cannot think coherently if your system is in a nervous state, a scared state. So it's all about creating safety. So I meet, at the base level, I meet with my clients once a week in my membership, which is about learning to just, in a small group, learn to speak, learn to say what we're thinking, and then having that encouragement to sort of say, maybe I will say that to my partner, maybe I will say that to that co-worker. And it's starting so small, because most people, we chase these ginormous goals, don't we? I want a 5-figure, a 10-figure, whatever, 10-figure month. I don't even know how big that is. But
10 figures, pretty big, girl.
Told you my maths is a bit shaky.
Yeah, mine too. It just sounds big, so I'm guessing it's big. Do you know what I mean?
I think I meant a 10k rather than a 10 figure.
Yeah.
Whatever. Aim high. But yeah, we chase these things, or we chase however many people coming through our launch, or however many customers, or however much publicity.
Yeah.
And again, without having that foundation, if you think of yourself like a house, if you start building on grass or rocks without sticking the foundations in, you're only going to get to a certain level before your house topples over. And that's exactly what I do. It's creating the safety within and holding space. I hate that, but yeah, I'm a space where people can learn to feel safe. And again, that's come from from my background. I believe in really using everything from your past to the greater good.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic because when you think about your past, of course, you go to the happiness ninja. I mean, girl, you've studied 7 languages. You lived in Berlin for a year, work, studying and volunteering there. You've photographed in several countries, featured in the Virgin Entrepreneur Plus and other publications. So, I mean, your work has really got out there. I mean, of course, plus all the coaching you've been doing. And this I want to applaud you for. Overcome depression. It's depression. People underestimate what that is because it's so invisible.
Yeah.
And, it's not just take a painkiller and be done. Depression comes from your history of life. It really does. And how was that? How did you manage to overcome? What was the journey there for you?
So for me, there was always something inside me that knew that how I was not who I really was, if that makes sense. I knew that inside, even on my darkest days, that there was this little light, a little spark that told me to keep going, because I've had some pretty dark days where I didn't want to be here anymore and contemplated that many times. And it goes back to that identity work that I talk about, the self-expression, because I found the more depressed and anxious I was the further away I was from living as who I truly was. So my depression was at its worst when I worked in a corporate job delivering oil additives in an export office. So I worked with Eastern European countries, German countries, Middle Eastern countries, making sure that oil additives were being delivered and sorting out all the export documentation, speaking to freight forwarders and shipping companies. And for me, I didn't feel like I belonged in the office. And so every morning I'd drive an hour to work. I'd get there and I'd just feel so out of place. And I'd come home, and because I'd felt like I'd had to put on this happy face, because to everyone else I was the zany, quirky, happy person in the office. And because there is that stigma about mental health, I really couldn't tell people how I felt. And again, with having depression, you feel like you're a burden. You don't want to bring people down. And so for me, my journey started with trying to take steps to create a life that was more resonant with who I was. Now, fast forward 10 years, I thought I'd created a life that I wanted. So this is where sort of fluke photography sort of came in. I was coming back from New York City. I'd hopped on a plane, and my grandmother just passed away. And to sort of escape it all, I was doing well with my business. I had the funds to just go, right, I'm going to Canada, I'm going to New York. And on the way home, I broke down. I had a cup of tea at the airport. And I didn't want to come home to what I'd created. And so for me, it started like this narrative of like, what is wrong with me? I've done everything I thought I wanted. Why am I still not happy? Why am I crying about coming home? And that was because the inside didn't match the outside. So again, I'd created everything outside of myself. I'd created a business that I thought I wanted. I'd created success, everything was outside, ticking boxes, but I hadn't become okay with myself. And the reason that I chose to rebrand from Fluke Photography is fluke photography, even though it was a very, very cool name, it stemmed from my own lack of self-belief, my own low self-esteem issues, because I thought it was imposter syndrome with a camera.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's such a powerful thing to see.
So I had to go on that journey on the inside, because nobody teaches us how to deal with feelings, emotions, bodily sensations. We're just told, from the minute we leave homes and go into school, checking boxes, ticking boxes, do this, that's next, that's next, that's next. And as soon as you leave school, suddenly you're dangling. It's like, what boxes can I check? And that's why people are constantly chasing the next external thing. And nobody teaches us how to express the anger that maybe we had stuffed down. All those times we were meant to cry, but we didn't want to let anyone know we were weak. So I actually believe, from all of the studying that I've been doing for myself, that maybe depression is linked to all of the emotions that you never allowed yourself to express. Maybe it's from ticking boxes that have nothing to do with you, and you've been living a life that you think you should, rather than the life that's true to yourself. And the only way you can come back to yourself is to start feeling who you really are and letting go of the stuff that you've been carrying that is weighing you down. Because I always called my depression a sad sack, because it felt like an invisible sack weighing me down. It was like, it just wanted me to stay in bed. Don't do that. Oh, here's a cuddle, stay in, you're comfortable here. And suddenly your comfort zone becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. And you've got to come back to getting to the edges of your comfort zone, learning that that's safe, expanding a little bit further, because that's where life is, like living your life and enjoying yourself. And that's not just about having, glitter and unicorns all the time. I call myself also a happiness teacher, because it's about being okay with the days that are just a bit meh and not tying any meaning to them, or the days that you do still feel that depression, not pathologizing it and making it something that's wrong, just saying, oh, clearly my body's got some wisdom here. I need to feel what's going on. What's the message? Have I gone off track again? So,
wow, it was amazing. It was fantastic deep dive into I almost like the mechanics of what depression is, but effectively, what you did was you put into play in such a way that we can all understand it. Because I believe there is not a given person in the world that doesn't go through some form of depression. And if we do not, then we are not acknowledging portions of our past. That, because depression isn't about now, it's about what you brought with you into your adult life, and now that will play out then in somebody else's expectations of you, basically. Life envy, business envy, money envy, hair envy, makeup envy, clothes envy. It goes on and on and on. It truly does. And trust me, I don't have hair envy. I love being bald, by the way. I do. I love being bald. It's so stress-free and so easy.
I can imagine.
It is. I did go through the crying period. I did cry a lot in my 20s, but now, whoa, any day. Tell me about this membership package. You've said it a few times in your membership. Yeah. Tell me about that.
So I run a community called the Courage and Confidence Crew, and they are a lovely bunch of people. It's a place where you can learn to be safe and learn to express who you are. There is no hustling. There is no chasing goals. Everybody's got their things that they want to attain, but we do it gently. We do it in a way where people can understand which way they want to do it, because by learning who you are and learning what's the right approach for you, that's how you're going to get the success. So we are fully okay with taking a nap in the middle of the day if that's what your body wants. We meet every week. We have resources that you can do in your own time, but people come for the calls really, and we have like monthly experts as well. So tonight we've got somebody coming in to talk to us about overcoming creative block. So
I love that. Mary Claire, where do we find this membership? Is this something that's open to the public to come in?
Yeah, it is. It's on my website. It's called the Courage and Confidence Crew. So just have a look for that. It's under Work With Me.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's by application because obviously I want to keep the space very safe. It's important that we have the right people in there. But if you identify as somebody who is maybe a little unconventional, like you've never really found your place, like you're looking for somewhere where you can belong, we're not all the same. The thing that strikes me, and it's what the members speak about a lot of the time, is the people in there probably wouldn't have been friends if they just met each other on the street. But there's the alignment of values, looking for something that where they can belong and be who they are and go out into the world and out into business, because there's two streams you can go on with the crew. You can do life unedited or business unedited. And again, it's just about supporting you to be that self-expressed, safe version of yourself. Because if you you want to dare to take up space in the world, but you've got to feel safe within before you can do that. And
that's just fantastic. You want to dare take space in the world and make sure that you're in the right shape and things for it. What we're going to do then, listeners, we're going to just take a quick commercial. When we come back, we're going to give a shout out to, of course, Mary Claire's website, so we can get you to that membership and get you involved with this amazing crew that she's got in there. Okay, and we're going to be back in about 90 seconds.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Oh, yes, that's where we are. UK Health Radio, and you're with Paul, of course. Deb is not here because she's getting her nails done. But we have a substitute, an amazing substitute, of course, Mary Claire Ashcroft. And she's been with us right throughout the last, I don't know how long on the show. And, of course, the professional rebel, and I'm going to say the self-expression specialist. Let me say that one more time, self-expression specialist, because this is probably one of the most important niches I have got the pleasure of talking about in the last 10 years. It really is. But here we go. We talked about the membership, Mary Claire, before we went into commercial. So I'm going to just call out what is your website, and you can call out the Facebook and things. So we have www.professionalrebel.co.uk. One F, two S's in professional. That's where you will find the membership. Is that correct, Mary Claire?
Yeah, under the Work With Me tab.
Perfect. And of course, let's do Facebook, LinkedIn, and all those beautiful places. Where are you?
I am The Professional Rebel on Instagram, Mary Claire Ashcroft on Facebook personal page, The Professional Rebel on Facebook page, and LinkedIn. That's a good question. I need a kick up the bottom to go.
Well, on LinkedIn, we have the professional rebel on LinkedIn. So
amazing, thank you.
But there's not going to be Mary Claire Ashcrofts out there either. So
no, I think I'm the only one.
Well, if you go on LinkedIn and you see this lovely lady with long flowing hair and a beautiful, you will find the right Mary Claire Ashcroft, that's for sure. And, I think coming in the show, I knew there was so much that I wanted to focus on, Part of me wanted to sway right into what was, of course, your photography and, the speciality of that. But you know what? Truthfully, I think that's been overshadowed by what is a self-expression specialist. And I love how you combine the both there. I love how you bring in both there. But the self-expression specialist, that's the key here to who you are. And this is the brilliance of this niche is adding value into the emotional economy of people's lives.
Yeah.
It truly is. To be able to help someone bring forward their own emotional fingerprint, their own expression, that fingerprint that belongs to them, and be proud of that. That takes skill, girl. But here's where we are. You've done your cap and gown. I look at your notes. You went through, the family dynamics and everything else that come with that. and work through that in order to justify and be able to proudly say, yes, I am an expression specialist because I know how to do that because I had to. I've been there, you know. And I want to come back to something you said earlier in the show where, you know, there were times you didn't want to be you. And I can truly appreciate that because I've been there myself. And, you know, I did try those suicidal attempts, I'm going to say. And obviously they were just a cry for help for me. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. Do you know what I mean? And I, you know, there are lots of individuals that suffer that potential thought of, do I want to be here? Is it, you know, can I manage to work through my life, or should I? And again, being able to self-express on an authentic level brings value to who you are.
Yeah, really does. It's so important. Yeah. You know, most people chase happiness. Most people chase the sunny, shiny emotions. But we've got to be okay. We've got to be okay with everything and accept our brilliantly flawed selves, because there's so much about us that is so different to everybody else. And if we keep stuffing parts of ourselves away, thinking that it's not good enough or that we should be ashamed of those, people are missing out on this gloriously delicious human that you are. And people need to know that, because I show up a mess sometimes, warts and all, but it's giving people permission to just go, oh, that's normal then. So yeah.
And did you find that whilst going through this journey of, you know, self-expression, being yourself, that there were, you know, those who were determined to almost dumb you down from you being that person that you wanted to be?
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with a family member in Canada, and obviously this is an older generation, but they just couldn't understand why I would leave a corporate career in exports, having learnt 7 languages. But in the middle of the 2008 recession, I decided to leave and become a photographer. And they just could not comprehend it. And they said, you should go and get a job at the UN. And I was like, no, I'd probably cause a war with my terrible memory. I like interpret something incorrectly and cause a whole load of problems. Wow. So, but yeah, I've had, you know, I've had to let go of friendships. Some people would just stop talking to me out of nowhere, and I would replay conversations. Yeah. What have I done? What have I said? Was I insensitive? And I've had to leave people behind as well, because I didn't think that they were doing me any good. Yeah. And it can feel painful and lonely, but it's only because it's a journey of actually finding the people who are right for you. So you're clinging, if you're leaving people behind, it's because they're not meant for you. And so wish them well. I don't wish anyone harm, even the people from a painful past. You know, I'd like for them to have fulfillment and be content with their lives. But if they're not able to, then it's not your problem, and it's not up to you to become this emotional crutch for people that bring you down.
Wow. Mary Claire, if you had to choose between photography and being, you know, that expression, the self-expression specialist, would you be able to choose between one?
Well, I think the journey is taking me more towards the confidence and self-expression. It feels, as much as I still love doing my photography, because it is about self-expression again, I feel like the universe or something is pointing me in that direction, and that possibly photography was the bridge to get there.
Yeah, absolutely, girl. Absolutely. You go back to your office, reshape everything around this self-expression specialist, get it out there, girl, and you will get hordes of human beings or human doings who are ready to be human beings.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming into your product and being themselves. And finding the right pronoun for them, not a pronoun that's just there in order to create another disillusion, is beautiful. And I mean that with the greatest respect out there in the community, that's for sure. You know, find that expression that fits you, not that fits you because other people are thinking it's right, is where we are. It's been amazing, Mary Claire. Really thoroughly enjoyed our time together. It's been a beautiful show. Thank you for your heart, soul, and, of course, your honesty.
You're very welcome. And can I just say, if people have enjoyed this, I've got a 5-day challenge, a 5-day happiness challenge coming on the 15th of May. If the show is going to be out then, I'd love to invite you to join that 5 days of, learning to feel a little bit happier.
So I love that. That's fun. How do we get there? How do we find that? How do we purchase it? How do we get our ticket there, Mary Claire?
I'm going to be shouting about it a lot on my social media as of next week. Again, it'll be on my website, so it'll be the 5-day happiness challenge, but I'll make sure that it is visible from the homepage. So
happy days. We're going to do that. The 5 days happiness challenge is coming up. This show will be out in time for you to know and how to find that. It's going out next week in time for you to register on the 5-day happiness challenge with, of course, the wonderful, the amazing Mary Claire Ashcroft, the self-expression specialist. I love it. It's beautiful. Listeners, it's been a fantastic show. Thank you ever so much for being here again with your earworm this week and every week. And it's been, of course, Mary Claire, I'm going to give you a fantastic round of applause right now and say thank you so much for being here. It is. You're a wonderful soul. You're a wonderful person. And listeners, of course, until this time next week, have an amazing, self-expressing week. We love you to bits. And bye for now and boom!
Bye!
Emotion.